Away!
That is cultural appropriation.
I'm hoping no French people tune in whilst I'm doing that French accent.
Ty, that's wonderful. Thank you very much for that little gift and saving me a job.
We're either going to have a story or a story.
Wow.
That gag impression is not gagging, is it?
If you aren't following this, by the way, this makes no sense to you. Even following it along might not help make much sense.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's
I'm
not.
very sorry to everyone.
Hello everyone, Tony here, and I know when we do a Manscaped read, we normally have myself, Aaron, and Steve with me, but I needed to get this one out quick because it has to go in this week's episode because our friends at Manscaped have sent us this. The Handyman. They have entered the beard game. It is no longer just about your balls, my friends. Our faces are getting the Manscaped treatment as well. Are you tired with that relentless stubble situation? Do you dream of having a fresh, clean-shaven look but cringe at the thought of battling the daily grind of a wet shave? Well, you are not alone, my friends, and that's why we've teamed up with Manscaped to bring you the ultimate solution. Brace yourselves, because Manscaped is making a statement in the beard game with the all-new Handyman electric face shaver. Your ticket to a face as smooth and sharp as James Bond, minus the chaos of a traditional shave. Join the 9 million gents worldwide who've entrusted their grooming to Manscaped with our exclusive offer. Hop over to manscaped.com, use the promo code FMShow to snag a glorious 20% off and score free worldwide shipping. As I say, this turned up this morning. Usually when I do my beard, I get a disposable razor in to do my neck and obviously the line up and under my eyes. I used the Handyman this morning, and my word, no more disposable razors for me. This is a seriously good bit of kit. I am very, very impressed with that. Whether you're looking for a wet shave or whether you're going to do it dry, the Handyman is your trusty sidekick, ready for action wherever you go. It's compact design, it's airplane friendly. It makes it the ultimate on-the-go grooming tool. And of course, if you have a bit more on your face like I do, you can also look at getting yourself involved with the beard hedger that has up to 20 hair cutting lengths, all on one guard, so no more messy drawer full of extra add-ons. So trust me, gents, you cannot go wrong with any of these options. Manscaped has your grooming game locked and loaded. Get 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code FMShow at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use the code FMShow. Hit that refresh button with the Handyman. Hello everyone and welcome to the FM Show. Hope you're all keeping well as we hurtle towards the festive period. Often a point of the season, of course, where niggling little injuries occur, players start to get jaded, in need of a rest, but not us. We've been putting the minutes in, and we can guarantee the festive period isn't going to slow us down. Isn't that right, fellas?
Absolutely right.
RDF Tactics, producer Steve. How are we? Steve, I'm coming to you first because Aaron keeps stomping on this one all the time for you.
We're okay.
Tune in next week for another.
Very good. We're fine. Yeah. I'm very well. I'm very well. Yeah, I think it's kind of that heavy fixture load, as you say, in broader life sort of thing. But, you know, as we're going to discuss in this episode, got a good training plan. You know, you get used to it at this time of year. I don't know if it's the same for other people's professions, but becomes a busy time as everyone's sort of hurtling towards that sort of end of Christmas time. So, but yeah, you know, done it before. It's a question of managing it. And it's all good, busy, you know, stuff like this, stuff I really enjoy. So that's lovely in my IRL life. In my football manager life, there are two things, actually. I'll do my little bit first, and then we'll go to Aaron. Again, a bit of on-air production for you guys here, because I've realised I've got a question for you guys that I want to answer. So we've had a bit of... So for those of you who haven't listened to last week's episode, go back to it, because this will make no sense otherwise. Watch it, then come back here, please. Thank you very much. And subscribe and all of that. We spoke a bit about Cambridge United, because IRL, they sacked their long-standing local manager, Mark Bonner. Again, just double-checking that they... Oh, look at that! 17 hours ago, a chap called Neil Harris has been named the club's new first-team head coach. So I don't know what happened to my CV.
Is that former Millwall?
I was about to say ex-Millwall, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Nice.
So, yeah, there you go. Neil Harris. Interesting. And
look at that look of disappointment on Steve's face where he genuinely thought he was in the running for the job. Just like, what a way to find out. I find out on air that I didn't get it.
Didn't even. I mean,
17 hours ago, couldn't tell me.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been in all day. I've been waiting by the phone.
Waiting by the email. So there we go. So no, I was thinking as well, the prediction I made about Kevin Betsy being named.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
There you go. Come back for more insight on the FM show. Anyway, so that's happened. Neil Harris, IRL, is Cambridge United boss now, and best of luck to him and everyone at the Abbey. That conversation around Cambridge prompted some comments from Scott McClintock on last week's show, referencing Tony's calendar. Of course, Tony is doing the Football Manager player advent calendars, which is definitely still going.
And I've kept it up as well. The challenge was thrown down. I mean, I've let it slip on TikTok, but I've definitely kept it going on Twitter.
So this is a kind of dual reference to your advent calendar and Cambridge United chat is Collis from Champ Manager 93-94.
Mark Collis.
There we go.
Collis. Incredible midfielder for Cambridge.
There we go. Each talking about our respective vintages there. So, and then this obviously descended into a conversation about sort of legends of the game, as we have called them in the past. Talking about Nigerian striker, who of course Julius Agahawa. He was good.
Oh yes. Oh, he's already been on as well. That's the thing. He's already been on. As I saw that, I was like, because what I'm getting, Steve, what's lovely. If you aren't following this, by the way, this makes no sense to you. Even following it along might not help make much sense. But basically, what I decided was for the festive period, I would tweet out an FM and Champman legend of years gone by, just to get in the festive spirit. Everyone's got an advent calendar, and I thought, well, maybe we'll just do one about these Football Manager and Championship Manager players. And I have been every single day getting loads of interaction, which has been fantastic, and people are really engaging with it. The best bit, of course, is people going, even on like day 3, going, I hope you haven't forgotten about certain. I'm like, we're 3 days in. Like, of course we haven't forgotten. Mark Kurt, never heard of him, mate.
Never heard of him. Maxim, who's that?
So Julius Agahawa, I saw that on the YouTube comments, and I was like, yeah, Julius Agahawa, he's definitely one of those. And little did, of course, Scott McClintock know I'd already had him lined up to go this week. So Julius Agahawa has already happened this week. So go back and check that one out. And Curlon as well. Do you remember Curlon?
Oh, yes.
Brazilian midfielder who could dribble the ball in his head.
I was going to say, that's the only reason why I remember him with the dribble.
Oh, like a steal. Yeah. But yeah, so there's also Tom Youngs from Cambridge, was great on CM 96-97, according to Scott and Andrew John as well, having a lovely chat about that sort of stuff. So lovely bit of interaction based on our last complete nonsense.
Put it in the comments. If you've got any more players that you think that we might have forgotten about, put it in the comments below. Because absolutely. it might also as well be part of a Christmas special. So we'll see. A bit more about that in a little minute. But Aaron, before we get to Christmas, dare we ask, have you unwrapped another save in the last week, or are we still rocking tier 12?
We're still rocking tier 12. I'm trying to get into the festive spirits as well. So I'm a bit like you lot. It's getting a bit heavy, especially I forgot about the wedding planning and all of that stuff. So, I was just saying there, she's like, oh yeah, have you done this and done that? I was like, oh my God, we're getting married, aren't we? There's that sort of thing in it when you get busy and there's so many things, because obviously it's not just the wedding, there's other stuff as well in the family home that needs to be all sorted out. So yeah, it's getting a bit busy. Yesterday, I was streaming my Smith barometrics, and then literally, as in the middle of the streaming, she's ran into the room. So she's similar. It's getting a bit busy. She's ran into the room like, oh my God, we've got to go ice skating in an hour. I'm like, what? So literally I had to wrap up the stream, get ready, go ice skating in the end. All of that stuff, my head just like, there's just so much things going on at the same time. But it's nice to be able to sit down for a few hours and then get into FM and play my Smith's save. So it did start in tier 12. We're currently now in tier 10. So in the first season, we didn't get promoted. We got promoted in the second season to tier 11, and then we got a back-to-back promotion. Now we're in tier 10. what I am finding out in some of these leagues is sometimes you think promotion, things are going to be a bit more difficult. But so in tier 12, there's a lot of amateur teams, but they're first teamers. But then when you get to tier 11, you will start to play under 21s and like the academy and development teams, those are the sort of teams that you could sort of walk over. Whereas obviously, because they're playing under 18, so there's matches. There was a couple matches last season where we played like a team that's just got a whole load of 17 and 16-year-olds, while we've got many players in our peak years. So that's why like some of the scorelines was a bit crazy as well. But also, going from tier 12 to tier 11 was hard to adjust to because tier 12 had 16 teams and then tier 11 had 11 teams. So there was smaller 11. Teams. There was only 20 games. There was only one fixture in November. We got to November. We was like, wait, there's no matches. Yeah, that was a bit of that. All of that stuff is quite hard to adjust to because you have to prepare for it, right? So it's not just one match during that month. It's training wise as well. So we'll talk about that a little later. Training wise, you've got to prepare. You've got to keep your players fit. So that, of course, means sometimes you might throw in a friendly, but it also means it's just training schedules to keep your players fit through those games, keep that sharpness up. So when we are playing our competitive game now, we're fit and ready for that game. So that save is going well, but there's a lot of adjusting for me to do because I've never done a save like this. So doing trials as well. Like the first time I had a trial farm, that people are calling it a trial farm, where you quite literally, because scouting is difficult, so you just get a whole load of players, trial them in, and then you can you can imagine it in real life, right? You just got a whole load of people from Gumtree, and then you can have you have a trial. You have a trial session. Like, you're not good enough. Yeah, we'll get you in. We'll get you in. And the best thing is that you sign them, and like, oh wait, you're actually not good enough. You can just release them. Just rip that contract up, sort of thing, without no financial. Yeah, there's no financial con for doing that as well. Now we're in semi-pro, though. It's a bit because some people are starting to earn £20 a week, which is a bit of a. Like, I'm looking at people's wages. I'm like, £20 a week, flipping.
This is exactly it. Like, you've got to the point where I was hoping you get to.
Yeah.
Like, you've had the easy. Like, I'm gonna call it now. You've had the easy bit, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Tier 12 is the easy bit where you're just sort of like getting in and just having a great time. Being used to everything and sort of going like, oh, isn't this a bit difficult and a bit different? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, because you can just get non-contract players and they just leave.
Yeah.
Now you're in that thing going, are you worth 20 quid?
Like, and it's difficult, man.
Like, this is going to have to be our best player because he's getting paid now. So that
happened in our window. So we had a guy who clearly looked like the best striker, and it was like, but we have to pay money for him. And then there's just one attribute that threw me off, and I was like, I can't do that. Natural fitness was on 4, and I was like, oh, that is just not yet, because we're paying money. Now we're paying money. We have to think, okay. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to stick with the striker that we got. He might not be good enough, but I've got experience with him as well. I know how he plays, sort of thing, rather than bring someone in that we have to pay for. We've never seen before as well. So there is a lot of adjusting to do in this tier.
Yeah, and that trialing as well, which again, I sound like a broken record. I say every single week, it's an episode for the future. But don't you mouth along with that. It's an episode for the future. Right. But trials, though, for non-league teams, you're right. Like, if you can't, because you can't scout, you don't have a scouting budget or anything, but trialing is, it's the best way. Like, you're judging the players there. And then, as you say, hold an open day, just like, right, who's got boots? Come down. And then just everyone from the local area rocks up. And that's the best way to do it. But you're right. You get this guy who's like, oh, he looks fantastic. The second he signs, you're like, oh no, he looks fantastic compared to all my players. But
yeah.
He was great from the trial bunch, but not from the other ones. But I'm glad you're having fun. There is that easy bounce between like sort of 10, 12, 10. Like that sort of like 9, maybe even. You get a lovely bit of bouncing going through. So glad to hear you're still with it. Glad to see you're still fighting it. And I'm glad to hear that you're.
It's because we are not streaming. We're not streaming 14 days a week. That's why we're enjoying it.
We're not. And and if you don't know what that means, again, go back to last week's episode. And Aaron's clearly not getting enough sleep because he doesn't know how long a week is. So, which is completely fine, given the fact, you are on a long-term save. You're not the only one who's a long-term save. I'm on a long-term save as well. Of course, Aaron's streaming over on Twitch, twitch.tv/RDF Tactics. if you want to see tier 12 based Football Manager. If you want to see Building a Nation Greece, maybe I'd recommend twitch.tv/Tony Jameson FM, because that's exactly what we're trying to do with AE Larissa. We're trying to make Greece the best nation in Europe. We're trying to raise those coefficients up to number one, topple the Premier League, topple Bundesliga, La Liga, Serie A. It's, you know what? It's going all right, actually. Yeah. I was expecting to be like at the point 3 or 4 seasons in where I'm tearing my hair out going, this is a stupid idea. Why have I got to do this the rest of the year? But
you've got lovely hair, Tony. Don't do that. Don't.
Exactly. That's why I was like, don't do this, because it's already receding. You can see the hairline's going. Like, I can't be taking it out. But yeah, 3 seasons in now. Okay, we mentioned in last week's episode, I did a little thing that I don't normally do, buying players blind, but got a bit of luck on it, and the players we brought in were fantastic. So we hit the ground running, and we had to, because the media prediction of where we were going to finish in the league was first. We finished 4th the season before, 20 points behind the league leaders, okay? So expectation was to finish first. The 2 teams that came down clearly aren't really expected to do a great deal. We have recruited pretty well. Like, we were really diligent in our planning. We got a couple of players we just took a little gamble on. They seemed to work out nicely. But we made sure we had most of the gaps filled, and it was more of a balanced squad than we had the season before. Yeah. We started really well. We went about maybe 13 games unbeaten again, like we did the season before. We were looking pretty handy, and we got knocked out of the cup, which is fine because we didn't need the cup. So we're like, right, get that back out. We started to like I felt like all we were doing was scoring loads and loads of goals. Like, we're winning games, like we're scoring like 3 goals, 4 goals, 5 goals regularly. I think as we got to Christmas, our goal difference was plus 35. And the team who were in second place were plus 15. The team who are in second means that we are the team that are in top at this point, leading into January. Yeah.
Oh.
Starting to
it's
come
hard.
into...
It is hard to keep that form up, though. It is hard. Because I don't know about yourself. Obviously, it's difficult to see the league table, but it feels like so far in this tier, it's like a Real Madrid Barcelona type thing where it's just 2 teams going head to head. And I feel like there's stages in the season where it just feels like no matter what the opposition's going to do, they're winning, they're just winning, and it puts so much pressure on you. So it feels like you're blitzing the league. So we've had this a couple of times that we're blitzing the league. Oh, it's too easy. People are saying it in the chat, too easy. You lose 2 games or you draw 1 and lose 1. The other team are like 2 points behind you now. And it's like, pressure. That's when I start getting a bit mad, yeah.
This is where we're at, right? So we're at a really key point right now. So at the time of recording, I should say we're at a key point. By the time this comes out, we'll be past that, and next week we'll have a definitive answer, right? But
if Tony looks really glum when
next week, there might not be a show, right? Okay. We're either going to have a story or a story, right? At the minute, at time of recording, January transfer window is closed. We have 12 games remaining of the season. Okay, we've brought a couple of players in on loan from Bayern Munich 2. Who've really helped add quality to the side. We've had a couple of injuries. We had our star striker, Doumbia. Remember we talked about him? The Malian striker?
Oh, yes.
He signed an 18-month contract. Yeah. He wouldn't sign a new one. So he's leaving at the end of the season on a free transfer. So that's a bit sad. But Dieng, the centre-back from Generation Foot, he signed a new contract with a £3 million buyout clause. So even if he does go, we're in the money.
Yeah, that's good, yeah.
The same with another centre-back that we signed in January and went, you're coming in, but you're having a release clause. We're now insisting upon these as we bring these players in. We've signed another centre-back who's 6'7" with jump reach of 20. So he's like, we're putting him on corners everywhere. And with 10 games to go, we're still top.
Nice.
We're only 2 points ahead of second.
Oh, yeah.
There is that little bit of a slip. Like, I felt like we were miles ahead, but we lost a couple of games, and it was like, oh God, we slipped to second for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But we are still 10 points clear of third, and 2 teams go up.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you mean. The promotion places.
Okay.
So next week is either, hey, we're in the Greek Super League Division 1, or So Larissa sacked me.
That is sort of the worry.
Which one you think it might be?
What's
That
the
is
Greek
sort of the
football
worry.
job? Yeah, that's the.
Yeah.
I guess you're doing Building Nation, so it's okay, I guess, if you get sacked because you can go to another Greek club. But with us doing like one team from the bottom to the top, if we get sacked, it's a bit crazy. So a similar situation where we done well because we done so well in our first season, we didn't get promoted. But then second season, we expected to win the league now. And that's exactly what happened. So it adds that little bit more pressure. What I will say is, though, is that because when we're building our manager profile, because our reputation is not great and whatever, I do believe there's some leniency. So we can have a bad season or two without getting the sack. Whereas, of course, if I was like great history and that sort of stuff, great experience, then they're going to expect the results. If I don't get the results, they get the sack.
100%. Yeah. So we'll update as we go through. Steve, very quickly, anything from Fiorentina?
Well, actually, that kind of that sort of description of the 2-horse race, like every time they're winning a game thing, is sort of in the story of. So I'm currently second in, just very briefly, because currently second, 5 points behind Inter, lost to them. So it was at one point it was 5 plus 3, 8 points. They then lost to Sassuolo. So I'm back again. You know, that's the way league titles are, right? But I had a question for you because Inter and Fiorentina is the Serie A title race in this season of FM for me. Noticeably, Zebra, Juventus aren't in there in that one. 3 times Scudetto winners in a row in this particular universe going into the season. So they've fallen away a bit. I've generally had moments against them, but I've not beaten them for about, in the league anyway, for like 6 or 7 games, and they are definitively in my head. Knocked them out of the Coppa Italia in the semi-finals last year because I seem to have that competition locked down, but I can't do it in the league against them, to the point where now I'm just like, okay, and also the last game I lost to them 1-0, but it was away at the Juventus Stadium, and the stats I'm just getting up now were so 1-0 Juventus, XG of 1.52 to them, XG of 1.04 for me. Possession for me 58%, 42% Juventus. So, and it felt as a performance I got closer, but it's not close enough. When they've got Karim Adeyemi, that's, you know. Is there anything when it comes to a big game with a rival that you guys do specifically that is against your broader philosophy? How much you change, whether that's player selection, tactics? Do you guys do anything? Because I went I went with my better defensive fullbacks, for example. Versus my slightly, playmakery fullbacks. I went defensive.
I was about to say there, like, for me, I tend not to do too much different. I'll maybe stalk it up a little bit in the media if I'm feeling spicy. But I think when you were saying there about Juventus, Inter, when you're up against these big teams that are going to sort of like be in your head, then I think you've got to go for it. I think FM rewards you for going for it. When you play Liverpool in real life. Liverpool, and
see,
you get the result.
It's crazy you say that. It's so crazy you say that, because I've had this debate about 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times now, where someone was just like, they were like, it's sort of a pop-out football manager, right? Oh, it's unrealistic. How could you set up like that against City and beat them? And it's like, but in real life, and you look at the teams that are beating these teams, it's because they're having a goal. They're not sitting back. Now, teams that sit back against these teams are often the ones that do get battered. Maybe not score result, but performance-wise, it's going to be all City if you just sit back and just let them have the ball. Where if you have a goal, that I don't know why, that Villa-Liverpool game always just is in my head. And now we can say Villa and City yesterday. This just went at it. There's not a moment where they thought, you know what, let's regroup. Because the moment you regroup, or you can feel it as well, the match momentum will slowly shift towards Manchester City. Obviously, Villa are a bit smarter in real life. Of course, you can game moments, game situations. You can micromanage certain situations. But generally, on the whole, they went for it. And you can't disagree with them having 22 shots and City having 2. Like, you would think that City is sitting back and try to hit them on the break. So I do think, and I was going to say that I don't actually... In my head, though, something doesn't allow me just to be like, you know what, we haven't beaten you, so we've got nothing to lose. Let's just try and outscore you. For some reason, I might be a bit with Steve here. For some reason, I try and do like a defensive tactical switch to try and be more sound defensively and then try and win the game that way. So recently, I have been putting my DMs on defend both. That's what I've been doing recently, yeah. Because I
kind of still going for it, but kind of shutting
yeah. But I do wonder if bogey team's a bogey team, because I was pro Vercelli in FM24, and for literally a decade, it just couldn't beat Sassuolo. No matter what division we were in or what manager they had, we literally did not beat. They literally made me quit the save in the end. It was a result against Sassuolo that made me rage quit. You just can't. I couldn't beat them, and maybe you just have that bogey team. And it's a bit annoying if it is Zebra that is your bogey team. That would be a bit...
Could be as well. It could be like a little change of role, like as Aaron's saying there. Like the DMs go defend rather than support. It could be maybe if you're playing with an advanced playmaker, maybe you change him to like a box-to-box midfielder or a central midfielder on support, possibly. Just do it. They're just performing ever so slightly differently. Then as the game changes, tweak their role back to go, right, we're holding the ball a lot. I'd say, now's the time to go and play that killer pass. Go and be that playmaker again. If you're playing with a shadow striker, maybe do it an AMC rather than shadow striker. Let them come out to you and then change the game. So you're playing with the same players, but there's just these little tiny tweaks that you see.
Because also with Deborah specifically as well, and obviously this is going inside more into the weeds rather than just general rival conversation. But they're a team that it feels like they hit me on the break. I always have more possession. Hit me on the break.
Have you got a high line, and do you drop off, or have you got like a standard line?
It's generally a high line at the moment. I've tried both though. I've tried a high line and then get a call over the top, drop it back. You invite the pressure on.
Because you can have the
tried it all, Tony.
but you've got the instruction there, haven't you? Of a high line and then click the instruction of drop off. So you're essentially like you're starting higher, but always being aware that there's a ball coming over the top.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe I don't know.
And where would I find that? If just other people find it?
On the tactics screen, of course. If you click that, and then is it out of possession instructions, Aaron?
Yes.
Yeah. Out of possession instructions. You've got your lines of engagement, both in terms of your high defensive line and your opposition, your attacking line. Sorry, you can push that defensive line up to higher from standard, but then next to that on the right hand side, there's drop off or step up, and you can. So that gives you, starting with a high line, you can drop off to be aware of the ball over the top. Yeah. Or, of course, you can start with the standard line, but then be looking to push on constantly to try and essentially force an offside trap, really, isn't it?
Yeah, basically, yeah. Literally that. So, yeah, I will try. There's so many things that you could say, try out. This is what I try and do now as well. I try and do, like, even this season, there was many things that enganche. I was like, you know what? We haven't tried. Let's just try it out. Otherwise, we're never going to try it, and we're never going to find out the issue. So our thing was the attacking midfielder not be. No, it wasn't. It was our attacking four. It's just up there when we're trying to build, and no one drops, and it's like just trying to enganche it sort of thing. And we're never going to find the fix. But I was going to say also maybe team talk, because if you do lose to Juve, is your automatic thing is get revenge?
No, I throw the ball.
So I was going to say, like, try and just something with just no pressure. Just try and take the pressure of them completely. Because that's one thing. Like, if I lose to a City, my team talking the next time I play them, it's try and get revenge. We lost to them, try and get revenge. Maybe that adds pressure already on a high pressure game. So maybe there's a bit of that as well.
Yeah, I think the last one, because I did genuinely think the performance was tight. I was like, that's,
There is as well. And Aaron will be able to correct me if I'm wrong, and we'll talk about it as we go into the tactical, the training discussion in today's episode. But there was, I'm sure there still is, a big game sort of training module as well that you can put in. So if there is something that's on your horizon that you know is going to be like the game of the season, you might be able to. And I'm presuming, again, we'll talk about it as we go through, but that will be sitting down with your players going, right, big game. Now it's time to work on our mentality, our concentration, our composure, keep your shape, decision making, and it'll be all that. And that will help you when you go into a big game. So preparation.
Thank you, fellas. That's much appreciated. And I'll let you know when I get my revenge.
Follow me at TJ Tactics. It's not many people do. But
it's tactics spelled with a K, though.
That's the one, But do of course let us know Steve how that goes. We should also at this point shout out our brand new Patreons. Welcome to Dan Jones and Gary Affleck, who've become part of the squad this week. Obviously, every single week, Patreon keeps growing. Those Spotify subscriptions are growing as well, so thank you very much for that. More exclusive content going over there. We're going to talk about training schedules today, but Aaron and I have already agreed we're going to do something with training on Patreon. And we also said last week that we might do a drunk Christmas special. So who knows? I think that's maybe worth a little look at, to be honest. £3,
sure.
£5, £10. If you can afford to support the podcast, please feel free to go and have a look at Patreon. Quick question, just while this episode's on. Have you subscribed to the FM show, either on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast from, if you're listening on audio feed? If you haven't, can we ask a little favor? Maybe you might want to consider doing that. You might want to help us out. If you do want to help us out, please hit that subscribe button. It means a lot to us. Of course, if you leave a like on the video, if you've enjoyed it, leave a comment below. Obviously, it's the same on audio platforms as well. Little comments, little 5-star reviews and that. They really mean a lot to us, and it helps boost the show, and it means that people are enjoying it and it becomes more visible. Obviously, you can do that via social media as well. You can follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, however you want to do that, or come and join the Discord. The Discord is a great place to hang out. You meet like-minded individuals from the community. You get direct access to myself, producer Steve, RDF Tactics. What more can you say? I mean, that seems totally fair. It costs nothing, and it really helps the show out. So hopefully, that's the sort of thing you might consider. If you do want to give us a little bit of love, come and support us. Come and subscribe to the show, because you know what? We enjoy it, and we like you. So you know what? Back to the episode. But of course, we move on to our main part of the show. Last couple of weeks, we've been covering tactical playing styles, but we've already said we're going to start talking about training, which of course explains why we are in our peak physical condition, because of course we've been following very strict and detailed training plans. So obviously today, our main man, RDF Tactics, is going to show you how you can get the very best out of your training. But before we let Aaron loose, Steve, we've sort of already touched upon it a little bit. How hands-on are you as a manager on the training pitch, or is that someone else's job?
So we have discussed delegation in previous episodes. So just go through the feed and just watch all of them. You'll find it eventually. Right?
Yep. Episode 18, I believe it is.
Thank you very much. That's kind of where, there you go. Thank you, Tony, for rescuing me there. So yes, I personally delegate training. Because that kind of filling out the whole year-long thing. Actually, this season for the first season, based on the pre-season we did in previous episode 2, I did actually do my own in terms of like boot camped it for the first couple of weeks of pre-season.
Yeah.
You know, getting that physical fitness base level there, and then introduce the tactical and technical stuff, as well as lining up. Although what I did do is, I looked at my calendar, didn't see any fixtures. I was like, right, guys, why haven't you organised any of them? You normally always do. So I organised a bunch. And then about 3 weeks later, having already played a couple of these, I get an announcement saying they've arranged another 4 fixtures. I was like, well, that's too many. So
it does happen, doesn't it? You're just like, why have we got 14 fixtures? Oh, dear.
Yeah. And there was a weird thing with that specific Serie A season where the season started 2 fixtures and there was like a 2-week break, which wasn't an international break. Don't really know what happened there. Anyway, so then I cancelled some of their friendlies, which is, again, you know, in real life would be really annoying. And but so pre-season, actually, for the first time since doing that episode, I've curated my own one, because I have noticed in previous seasons the physical drop-off being an issue, and that thing that we discussed in terms of like you hit them hard physically in the summer, they peak, and then because by the time you're into a season where it's 2 games a week, it's just recovery, some tactics, recovery, some tactics. You know, the physical training you can't really get in during the season. So the baseline is there and has been established. And but once we're into the season, that's where I'm just like, I'll let. I think it's my assistant manager I've delegated it to at the moment. But because of the fact that whether it's cup games or Champions League or Europa League or whatever games come in, that shifts the calendar completely. I've noticed on my game that the coaching staff don't always adapt to that. So there'll be things like there's a fixture that's just been moved, and then a day later they've got match practice. And that is not a good idea.
Doesn't make sense, does it, when you look at it like that? Because I'm a bit like you, Steve. I'm becoming more of a hybrid, to be honest. I used to be very much a case of going, well, the game does training schedules for me, and I don't really understand it properly. Like, even though I've been playing this game for 30 years or whatever, like, I'm going to hold my hands up and be honest with everyone right now. I don't do the training myself. I don't really understand it fully. Like, I've watched people like Aaron on YouTube. I've watched people like the Cult of on YouTube doing really detailed videos that break it down. I'm like, that makes so much sense. And then I sit in front of my game and I go, I've forgotten all of this. Like,
yeah.
It made sense, but I don't get it now. Trying to do it myself. I am starting to get a little bit better at it. I am noticing when to tweak things. Like, if I'm getting, for example, if I'm getting loads of injuries and I look and I go, oh God, yeah, because we're still doing like physical training in the middle of November. Of course, that I'll take that out. I've obviously forgot to do it. But because I do a lot of lower league stuff, my training schedules are often very, very different. It's just match practice and tactics. So we will, of course, talk about the variations. Aaron, I am going to be honest, and I'm going to give you a little rub here. On Larissa, we've been using your training schedules, okay? Because I figured, you know what? Why not? I've got the resource here. Why not use it? So Aaron has just recently made a video about training schedules.
Yes.
Link, of course, in the description below. Go and give that video a watch and a like. And yeah, Aaron, talk us through them, because you've managed to make it where I think I understand it.
So that's what sort of the video was for. So even though there is downloadable schedules, and it would be nice, it would be nice for you to download it, but you can also, like, the video was there, so I'm explaining why I've set things in certain places. You can download it, and then from there you can actually just tweak it yourself. You can also use the hint from the video. So the one reason why I did this is because training, sometimes I like to be hands-on. I do have my says where I'm just delegating. If you don't know how to delegate, on the left-hand side, there is a staff option. You press that, and then at the top, you've got overview, responsibilities, staff search, etc. Make sure you go to responsibilities and then drop down to training. With the first team training and whoever leads it, you can change that, but you can also delegate individual training as well. So you might actually be one of those managers that want to do the general training and let the assistant do the individual, or the other way around, or just completely leave the assistant to it, which in general is fine. Now, with these training schedules, I try to word it carefully that it's not the best training schedule, but it's just more so how training is working in Football Manager and stuff. So we all got presets, and if you don't do your own training, of course, your assistant will use one of the presets. Now, if we go into training, so training on the left-hand side, and then you've got the schedules at the top. Now, if we just looking at, for a moment, if we just look at a preset, for an example, per session, one match. Now, if we use this throughout the season, our players can still get knackered, tired, they need a rest, and more so in certain positions. Now, this certain position could be your attack. One reason being, for an example, on a Tuesday here, we've got ball retention as session 1, and then we've got ball distribution as session 2. If we look in at the primary focus of this, both of them are at the attacking unit. Now, you've got to remember now, on a Tuesday, your attacking unit is getting priority of 60% in session 1 and 60% in session 2, whereas your defensive unit is only getting 20%. So whilst your defensive unit is not necessarily getting heavy training on this day, your attacking unit could be getting possibly too much training, because of course it's not just the Tuesday that they're going to be training your attacking unit, it's the Wednesdays, it's the Thursdays, and then it's the Fridays. So just this preset alone, I can see 1, 2, 3 sessions that are purely focused on the attacking unit, and then there's very minimum focusing on the defensive unit. So
Can I just very quickly jump in at this point, Aaron, for our audio listeners? Yeah.
Yes.
Can you quickly run through what this week looks like, because we've gone straight into Tuesday, and I'm just conscious of, if I'm listening going, I'm like, all right, what happens on Monday? Like, because obviously we've got it on YouTube, you can see this schedule. Aaron's got his game up and you can see everything. But if you're purely listening on audio, Aaron, if you can just break down what that week schedule looks like as the generic default training.
The 7 days, crucially, not 14 as well.
So for per session, with one match during the week, which automatically will set it on the Saturday. On the Monday, we got physical, per session, and routines. So routines is part of match practice. You practice basically practicing your routines for the match, up and coming match. On Tuesday is ball retention and ball distribution. Wednesday is transitional press and transitional restrict. Now, that again might not make sense if you're a pressing team, because then why would you have sort of two different transitional instructions, if that makes sense? And then on the Thursday, we've got attack and shadow play, playing out from the back. Friday, chance creation. Saturday, match. Sunday, recovery. So that's what the session looks like. And it's not the worst. Like, I don't feel training schedules are a difference between losing 3-0 in a game and then winning 3-0 in a game. But training schedule is also is always trying to get that extra percentage out of your players, and also in your match as well. Make sure your team's prepared for the match, and then also make sure your players are developing well. You can also manage your fitness as well in the training schedules.
Obviously, that's a default that's just been loaded in by the game. And the key part as well that you mentioned about there was that was on the little drop down. That's under possession. So if you click on that little drop down, again, if you want to tweak this yourself, if you click on that drop down, the game will give you some presets for other game styles, or so therefore the training style. So if you're going to press more, you want to do gegenpress, it'll give you a gegenpress style training schedule. If you want to be counter attack, it gives you a counter attack style. If you want to just focus on fitness or whatever. So that is a way to do it. If you sort of go, right, you know what? Yeah, okay, I'm going to switch things up a little bit, and I still don't really know how to take control of that myself. I can have a little bit of variance on that. If we've got, and I might be going back a little bit to come back a bit, we've obviously looked at that as our default.
Yes.
If we've got people listening and thinking, right, if I was going to take a generic, and I know there's no such thing as a generic training schedule, but in the ultra simplistic way of describing training, what would an average week look like if you were to have a go at your own training schedules, which I guess is kind of the beauty of what we're doing here, is to empower people to consider maybe looking at their own training schedules. What would make sense? Because this is the bit that I've always struggled with. I understand roughly what the individual sessions mean, but how do I create balance? Like, I'm not a PT. Like, I don't know when I work legs. The answer is every single day, right? But
not the answer, guys.
Never skip leg day, never. But I wouldn't know how to do that. Like, like what would be the way of being an average setup?
So there's sort of two ways. So you can go by your tactical style. So now in your tactics, let's say you've used the gegenpress version of the gegenpress. If you've used the preset version of gegenpress, then you can quite simply go into training, go to schedules, and then you can use the tactical style gegenpress. And if you've got 2 matches, you use the 2 matches schedule, or if you've got 1 match, you can go for the 1 match. Now, from here is where I also will still like to tweet, because as those that can see on the screen, if you can't see on the screen, obviously audio, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday are very, very heavy days. But not just that, on the Monday and Tuesday, you are doing very heavy physical training. Now, it does make sense because you are gegenpressing, so it's a very physical style of way of playing. But if you're very physical in your match, and then on the Monday, you've got to do all your quickness, your endurance, and then match practice on the Wednesday. And then Saturday comes, you've got another match again. Your players are just at the end of not even by January, possibly, you are going to be absolutely knackered. This is why I always like tweaking. I say the same for tactical presets. I think they are there for you to get an eye there and then tweak. So what I'm seeing here is that it's telling you that physical training is important. It doesn't mean that everything has to be physical. It's just telling you that it's physical. Now, on a Monday, Tuesday, you sort of have the option to tweak one if you want to. And then obviously on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, again, you can tweak. Now, the gegenpress schedule, I find, is actually pretty balanced. It is only the physical stuff that I would be looking to tweak with the gegenpress. Or you also have the other option of going to training style and using balance. This is one where you're just quite literally going to get the most balanced schedule, and you can see this again if you are listening on audio. You've kind of got these bars of goalkeeper, defensive, and attack, and it's kind of your intensity bars, and it's telling you how intense that unit is. If we are using balance, you can see Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's all balanced. Everyone's getting equal amount of training time, and it's not even intense as well. This is actually a training schedule where I think you can add to it. But if you wanted something balanced, you can use the balance, and then you can sort of use the different training sessions to kind of tweak it. It's difficult to tell you what I would tweak without actually going through that different sessions as well, like in attacking, defending, technical sessions. It's difficult.
Well, let's try and do that now. Then let's load up RDF Tactics' general 1 game a week training schedule. Yeah, because then that's obviously you've attempted to make a balanced training schedule right now. So we're stripping out Gegenpress. This in theory should work for most teams. It's a nice training session to plug in that gives you a balanced approach. So show us what you've got, explain how you came to that thought process, and then of course we've also got a 2-game. I say I'm taking credit for this as well. This is FM Show branded training schedule.
IP is it? Yeah,
exactly.
So we have a full week here, and it's actually pretty filled up. Apart from the Sunday where we've got recovery, match review, and then the rest. That's really the only time where, by option, we've just got the rest day there. So on a Monday, we've got attacking, defending, then goalkeeping. I find that important as well. I'll tell you why goalkeeping I find is important. On a Tuesday, we've got match tactics, match practice, and then recovery. On a Wednesday, we've got ground defense, chance creation, attacking wings on the Wednesday. Thursday, aerial defense, chance creation, play out from the back. And then Friday, lastly, we've got team bonding and distribution from the goalkeeper before the match on the Saturday. Now, the reason why it's designed like this, especially, is I can talk about Monday and Tuesday. In my head, I've already thought about that game on the Saturday. So we've done the match on Saturday. We completely rest on Sunday. What I'm trying to avoid now is a complete heavy session on the Monday. I still want my bodies. I'm still a bit conscious of my players' bodies and them still recovering a little bit. So the sessions on Monday aren't heavy. Tuesday is really the only heavy day, which is where we do a match practice. So 11 versus 11, everyone's practicing their roles and we get ready for the match on Saturday. So again, that's my thought process on why it's, you could say many schedules will have the match tactics or a heavy session on the Monday. You start early and kind of tail off. Whereas I'm like, you start light, get a bit heavier, then you tail off again and prepare for your match on the Saturday. So again, we can look at the intensity bars. If you can't see it, if you're listening on audio, it's pretty much all balanced. We've got one day where it's very light green, which is the Tuesday, the heavy day. That's the only day that we have intense. And then you can see on the Friday, there's a big drop off. So there's green. Green means okay. Light green means it's intense. And then blue means it's very low intense. On Friday, it's very low intense. Team bonding, we're getting the happiness greatly increased. Team cohesion increased. Attributes, we're looking at teamwork, and fatigue is slightly reduced. And then for the distribution, again, this is just before the match. We've got heavy focus on the goalkeeper, of course, but your goalkeeper is not really going to get tired. And then we've got secondary focus and the third focus, attacking and defensive, where they're just focusing on their individual roles. Earlier, I said goalkeeper schedules are important because a lot of the times the outfield players are practicing their individual roles. Your individual roles are very important to train. This must be in your training sessions during the week because in individual focus, this is where you're setting your player role. So let's say you've bought a centre back and you're training them to be a ball playing defender. He's not going to train to be a ball playing defender in training if you have no sessions dedicated to individual roles. So there's certain sessions like distribution, ground defense, aerial defense, which are very important because it allows other players to focus on their individual roles. What I mean by other players, because that kind of threw me off as well. Aerial defense, of course, the heavy focus is on the defensive unit, and then the other players, the attacking unit, goalkeeper unit, will be focusing on their individual roles. And then, of course, if we do in chance creation, again, heavy focus on the attack with their crossing, passing, technique, decisions, flair, off the ball and vision. That's what the attacking unit will be learning. The defensive unit now will be learning their match role. So my ball playing defender that I've set as a ball playing defender in training will be playing as a ball playing defender in training when we're trying to practice our chance creation. So my save here that you're looking at, I'm currently Barry. This is the save that we've ended. If I go to some of my players, you will see that the tactical familiarity is maxed out on a lot of these players that do have the training role trained. And that is sort of the way that I do training. I know sometimes it can be a bit confusing, a little bit with training, but if you do just take 2 minutes, 3 minutes out of your time and just look around, maybe you get a bit familiar with it.
What what I like, and I think Steve's very much got a question about one of the specific modules. What I like on the modules themselves is if you are trying to do this for yourself, maybe it's the first time you're doing training, maybe you're trying to take your training to the next level. Every module, and Football Manager's great at this, by the way. Like whoever said that, give little hints and tips in front of everyone's faces. Like give whoever did that a pat on the back and like a certificate, because Football Manager is brilliant. There's bits on every single screen, particularly, with roles, with tactics, with playing styles. If you don't know, there's just click on it and it tells you what it is, right? Yeah. Same on training. If you don't know what a specific module of training is, if you click on it, it tells you exactly what you will be doing in that session and how it's going to impact your team, whether it's going to allow a bit of rest on the legs, whether it's going to fatigue you, which part of your team is going to be affected. Is it going to increase your team spirit, your cohesion? So you can start to build these little blocks together to help make that a bit more cohesive. But Steve, I think you've got a question, which again is something that I use a lot, but some people maybe don't know, but it's really worth looking at.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, as well, I think that was so interesting what you're saying, Aaron, about how ground defense. That's obviously a defensive focus. Therefore, if you've got players who are training, for example, learning a new position, how it affects in training too. That's a detail I had no idea about. So that's so interesting to hear. Actually, the other way around, if you do attacking patient, for example, that means that if you've got a fullback who's learning how to become an inverted fullback, you need to convert. It's a kind of opposite thinking, isn't it? It's you need to have a lot of attacking individual sessions to allow defenders to learn the new positions. If you're doing that, and actually, we should probably additionally say, and go to it on the screen as well, that you go to into training, you go to individual is where you'll then, if you're talking about retraining individual players, and then you scroll down, and that's where you do that. Just as an addendum.
Sound the TJ klaxon.
I was going through it as I was talking, luckily.
Lovely. So just writing on my future episodes list.
TJ's got another
I will stress these schedules are very carefully planned out. Like things are in very particular places. So for an example, many people might think, well, I need my defenders to practice controlling the ball and that sort of thing. So that is why on the Monday, we've just got the general attacking, because attacking doesn't grab focus of a particular unit. So basically unit, you'll be split into three. So next to schedules on the top in training, you've got units. You've got the goalkeeper unit, defensive unit, and attacking unit. You can actually change this. So if you are retraining a player, which we have done, can I grab an example here? Yes, we do. So we had Marco Bertini, who was a central midfielder, but naturally he was just in our attacking unit. But I wanted to retrain him as a defensive midfielder. Some of you guys can see as well. If you can't see, in my development, Marco Bertini development, he's learning to be a defensive midfielder on support, because that's exactly what I've got in my tactic. So, but when we signed him, he wasn't a defensive midfielder. He was a midfielder and he was in the attacking unit. What we did was moved him into the defensive unit with his new role as well. So now he will be practicing or defending with the defenders in the defensive unit, just like he should be. There will be no point. It will be a waste if I'm trying to get him to be a defensive midfielder, but leave him in the attacking unit. And then in schedules, that is basically the focus. So chance creation will be looking at those players in that attacking unit. Attacking schedules and your general schedule. So you got overall, outfield, goalkeeper, attacking, possession, defending, tactical, physical. It doesn't really split the units apart from outfield in goalkeeper, of course. So if I'm doing attacking, just a general attacking schedule, it's not focusing on my attack. It's actually everyone's doing it. So my centre backs are also learning how to cross and dribble and finish and first touch. So my defenders aren't missing out on any attacking development. Likewise, my strikers aren't missing out on any defensive elements, because I am high pressing. So again, defending will be very important, because it learns tactical familiarity. That's the number one priority with defending. To defend in general, the main focus is trigger press and marking. That's quite important for my strikers, because they're leading the trigger press. So defending is quite important. Then it starts to look at heading, marking, tackling, technique, aggression, anticipation. Again, very important for those leading the press. So these are very very carefully picked out. That is one thing that I would say about these training schedules.
And in there, you mentioned as part of this perfectly curated week for one game
It's a work
a week.
of art, isn't it?
It's genuinely, yeah. For one game a week. What we'll say as well at this point too, we're going to come to correspondence in a second.
Yeah.
And we're going to do Aaron's 2 game a week training schedule next episode, just to give it the space that it deserves. But a couple of things as Tony.
And lower league.
And lower league.
Yeah.
Basically, here's some boots. Do what you want.
Not even that.
Yeah. And ball. No, off the ball work today, my friend. Off the ball work.
What do you mean you've got overtime?
So you mentioned, but just to sort of wrap this up, what we explained today, number one, match review. So that doesn't come in the defaults, does it? That's the thing you need to add in yourself, right? And I remember originally, credit where credit is due, I remember a good couple of years ago now, seeing a Zealand video where he mentioned adding in match review, and that has helped me immensely with all that sort of stuff. But yeah, Aaron, just explain match review and the virtues of it a bit more for everyone.
So match review is sort of, you've just played a game, and then in the next day, you should be looking to recover if you've got a sports scientist. And then you recover, and then after that, you just get your players in a room, and then you sort of watch back. I don't know if anyone's seen All of Nothing on Amazon, but you sort of, you kind of see this in real life as well, where after the game, they're all in a room, they're watching on a big screen, and they're quite literally reviewing their game, what went wrong, what went right. And Football Manager is, of course, trying to replicate this. So it's a session dedicated to analytically review the previous match. And it's kind of getting your players, again, just used to the team's mentality, passing style, the creative freedom, trigger press, marking tempo, width, their roles. And then, of course, it also will increase your team cohesion. With training, make sure make sure you are keeping your eye out on the injury risk. So again, for my general one, you can see the injury risk isn't that great at all. And if we go to the medical center as well and look at our injury history, again, you can see here we're below what the average is. Injury so far this season is 17. Majority as well that you can see. If you can't see, I'm telling you that it was received in matches. Some of them in under 20 matches as well. I'm not sure why that's happening, but injury so far is 17, and expected total at the moment is at 77. So we're overperforming with our injuries, even though in training, in our rest, our intensity is on double intensity. But again, it's all carefully made because our training schedule aren't super heavy, which allows us to approach our training with double intensity.
Double intensity, double episode, double excited. Aaron, this is really helpful. This is really, really helpful, okay? Like, I'm starting to get it, I think, right? I'm starting to get it, okay?
It does take a little bit. So those training schedules, it was way over 20, like we're talking days, because it's one of those things, right? Because my eyes, you're on it all the time. So you're designing it. You wake up, you go back the next day and you're like, wait, that don't make sense. I've got to change it again. But sometimes if I'm changing one, then I've got to load up all my other ones and change all the other ones because it's something that I've set in all of them. So yeah, that was sort of the stressful bit, but it's sort of that, yeah, once you start getting used to it, you get used to it. So now in saves, when I'm playing live, I don't necessarily always have to keep changing. I can just move things so I know where things are, sort of thing. So by just instinct, I can just move things about now. But yeah, that didn't happen. It did take Fox in the Box originally is one video. Yeah. So he done a video a couple of years ago. Many of the things still the same. And I've basically, I've watched a lot of his videos and that got me confident in making my own and just reading about real life, what they do in real life as well. So that sort of Tuesday is the heavy day. Monday, it leads up to the Tuesday. That was from someone's plan in real life. So it's that sort of idea as well that I've grabbed from real life.
All right.
It does feel a bit like, Tony, sorry, just to say, it does feel like you kind of what you were touching on. I understand it way more now that Aaron explained it, but it feels a bit like a mechanic opening the bonnet of a petrol or diesel car. Yeah. And saying this does this, and if you take this, and it's just like, I can change the light, I can change the windscreen wipers, I can, check the oil pressure, whatever, check tire pressure. You're like talking. It's still. This is great, but I'm also kind of maybe.
All I'm doing is kicking the tire, going, I think something's wrong.
on the roadside, having already
Yeah,
broken down.
the radio's gone off. Have you had any idea? I'll just turn it back on. Okay, good, excellent.
Majority of it was done on stream as well. And it's that sort of thing. It was like, you notice certain things and you're like, the more you look at it, it's like, oh, that's what's happening. And it's like, okay. And now it's like, as well, I'll quickly go for those who are watching on YouTube. If I sort out my training rating, you're going to see like my training rating is absolutely insane. Like the top 20 players are on 8 or above. And that is like quite insane to have in your team. Like everyone's training, everyone's happy. But again, it's one of those things I've made sure of that. I would say about, let's say I've got 20 sessions. I would say 15, at least 15 is, there's a little focus at least on happiness and team cohesion. And it's that sort of thing. Keeping people happy is actually very important. Very important.
That right there is the message. Keep people happy.
Yes.
So next week, we're going to ruin it because we're going to do part-time training schedules. So this is what we're going to be doing with people who are unhappy. But yeah, like I say, 2-part this one, I think, to be honest. So 1 game week this week, 2 games next week, and then obviously semi-pro training as well. Extended training thing available on Patreon very, very soon with myself and Aaron.
I think with the extended one, we can quite literally design one as well, because then we'll be able to talk about it as we're doing it, sort of thing.
And
so we will have a style of
football. Be able to do what? What we'll be able to do with that training schedule, where which you won't get anywhere else.
They will be able to download it. But also Patreon members as well. If you've got a style of play that you actually want a training schedule design for it, maybe that will give us the idea to actually design something as well. Because it will be fairly easy. If someone said high pressing, then we can quite literally whip that up, sort of thing. But if someone said, actually, I want a mix of pressing, but we want direct when we're building out, sort of thing, something a bit more challenging, and then me and Tony can sort of work it out on the stream as well. Because obviously, by doing that, we would have to explain our step by step and why we're doing certain things. So that will be quite a decent podcast episode, I think.
And again, remember, discuss it in the Discord, because that's a great place to chat about stuff like that. So, of course, ask your questions in there. And, of course, as I say, we'll try and we'll get that record set up. And then basically we'll have some fun doing that. And then by the end of it, I'm sure I'll be an expert as well. Hello, everyone. Tony here. Hope you're enjoying the episode. And if you are enjoying the episode, then maybe you might consider signing up to support us on Patreon, Aaron.
Yes. And we can't just leave it there. I think we should tell them more. What are we offering?
Okay, right. So Patreon, if you don't know what Patreon is a way of supporting the FM show as a podcast, if you can afford it. We must stress if you can afford it, okay?
Yes.
If you want to sign up, become a member of the FM show team, you can do so from as little as £3 a month. And Aaron, what are we going to give them in return?
Exclusive content, some of my favorite things, but also a Patreon shout out. We will get some bonus episodes given to you. I believe as well you get some Discord benefits. Am I right?
There's Discord benefits, absolutely. There's a little private secret channel in there where only the Patreons can talk, where they get maybe they get some heads up on things that we're going to start making in the future as well. We've started putting save files in for certain tiers. You might hear about live show tickets early doors, because we've got a live show on now. We might have more in the future, and we're going to let our Patreons know about that first.
Oh, yes. And even if you're struggling a bit on Football Manager, we will be doing a monthly Q&A for FM24.
Absolutely. And there's going to be loads more stuff as well. Potentially things like me and Aaron going up against each other on versus mode. It's going to be the place to be. If you can afford to support the podcast, please do. From as little as £3 a month, you can go and visit patreon.com/the FM Show Pod to become a member of the FM Show Squad. But now is the time to delve into that mailbag, because that's not the only thing that's been busy this week. The mailbag has been flying all over the place. We've got comments left, right, and centre, Aaron.
Yes, we do. And we got one from Matty Zucks. Watching the Cantanatural discussion, I can't help but wonder what an RDF Cantanatural tactic would look like. Oh my God. I'm interested myself. I'm interested.
He's already started.
I've already started. It would look like a Cantanatural tactic. So we'll use the style of play. My perfect one will be a 3-4-3. So that's the formation we've gone with. Football Manager does say it likes to have multiple playmakers. I don't really like that. Yeah. So I would have the back three. So Football Manager's normal preset, the back three, libero in the middle, 2 wide centre backs, but there's just central defender roles. I would leave that sort of football, or possibly have a no-nonsense defender, just one. On the left-hand side, I will have 2 wing backs on support. I like them having support in play. But then my DMs, I will have them quite static. So I'll have a deep line playmaker, still keeping their creative midfielder opinion in my mind, and I've got a DM on defend right next to him, so that will be my back line. And then in attack, I would have my creative player, my trequartista. I wouldn't have 2 wingers though, because they are, for one, they'll be operating wide away from the winger, but also the wingers need someone to cross to. If trequartista is looking to create, then he's got no one to cross to. And then I would just possibly have 2 inside forwards, 2 players taking that opportunity to run. But then again, it's risky because they like to get further forward, but that's the risk I'm prepared to take. So that is what my counter-national tactic will look like. Goalkeeper, no-nonsense centre-back. In the middle, libero. On the right, a normal centre-back. 2 wing-backs, a DLP with a DM on defend in as my holding midfielders, inside forwards, pair of them, and a trequartista. I'm actually just taking off inside forward and use an inverted winger. There we go.
Nice. Very, very nice indeed.
That wasn't planned. That wasn't planned, by the way, people.
That's the thing. See, that's why you're RDF Tactics. That's why you've just like bang, 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 bang. I'm away. All I've got in my head is a Christmas tree formation. And now I'm like, I want to go back to Christmas tree formations. So we shall see. Anyway, more tactical praise coming our way via YouTube with, I believe this username is now not accurate as it is, at user/ng6. Whoever who's got in touch, thank you for getting in touch. Fantastic in-depth dive into tactics and philosophy, in-game philosophy, of course, not Western philosophy or modern-day philosophy. But currently have a West Brom save going on where I've been using a vertical tick-attacker 5-1-3-1 with a high press. It's a gegenpress, but very narrow, aiming to win the ball back in the central areas of the pitch. They are just on the brink of the playoffs with 3 games left. They've scored 89, but conceded 81.
Wow. That gegenpressing is not gegging, is it?
No, that is we're going to win 4-3, isn't it? Very entertaining / capitalised, frustrating season.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, it's a style where you literally don't know what's going to happen in every game you play. I suggest maybe dialing that back a little bit. You lose games with gegenpress. I think your defenders are on the halfway line. It's possibly the issue. You 100% need a backup philosophy. Nope, put your defenders back. It's very much a momentum style thing. Goalkeeper on attack is not the answer. It's very much momentum style when things are going well. It's so enjoyable to manage. However, you will lose games to teams you really shouldn't be losing to. Like you guys have touched upon, you need to bring players in to fit your approach. Otherwise, this will fail drastically. Now, what I need you to do at this point, whoever's got in touch, please comment this week's show. Did you get promoted? That's what we need to find out.
Yeah, I need to find out.
A couple of games off the playoffs. Let us know how that season finished. You don't have to get in touch via YouTube. You can comment on Spotify as well, like Oliver Puxley did. Ooh. They sent us a message saying they started their first FM24 save at a National League South side, Welling United, as I am the person that prefers non-league football in England. Oliver, welcome.
Well, and Oliver is not alone, because Golden Footy is another person using the Dan FM database to bring back Bury FC from Tier 9, and compliments to the database from Dan FM, very detailed. And the realities of non-league football, as Tony has extolled and Aaron is learning many times in this podcast, coming to the fore here for Golden Footy, who was very confused when they signed the player for 14 days, and the crucial that is not an RDF week, that is 14 days, 2 weeks in the Christian calendar, the calendar we use in the UK. But hey, real life can be funny, because that apparently is a thing that happens in non-league. 2-week contract.
It can be if you get a job like at a different warehouse, you've got to move. Really sorry, Gaffer, I've got to go.
I'm just thinking of amateur, right? Like it does happen. Like I've quite literally done it where I've played a few games and thought, you know what, I prefer to play Football Manager. I'm just going to stay at home. And it's just because there's no contract for you to buy to or anything. It's just a message. You playing today? Nah, that's it. That's quite literally it. But this can happen. Like,
isn't it? I
can quite literally go from one team to another team with the FA registration and just move on if I really wanted to. And it was that trying to get used to that in that especially tier 12 where it's just like, I'm picking a team, I'm happy with it. And then you only got 3 games with it because someone just decides I'm going to go to Welling United or I'm just going to go to this place or Tonbridge.
Or one of those guys.
Yeah. I'm like, are they going to pay your taxi?
So anyway, well, there you go. Well, I'm glad you guys enjoying your adventures in non-league. I won't be joining you, but you have fun.
I can't wait for non-league, Steve.
Getting press in non-league, yeah.
Anyway, I'm not going to be a deep line playmaker. I'm going to be a what? What did he just call me?
The one person lying here, my friend, is you. It's and your lack of telling the truth, that wasn't. Anyway, so moving on. We were speaking of ways of earning money non-league style. We were talking about merch on the last episode. We asked you guys what kind of merch you would like because it's one of the things that we're looking to develop based on demand, based on making sure we do it in the right way, ethically, all that sort of stuff. So we put a poll out, and as things were like sort of when we looked at this before the recording, is what I'm trying to say. Mugs, Tony. Bunch of mugs.
Mugs and hoodies. I mean, yeah, that's a good point, actually. Like, is that something aimed directly at us?
A bunch of mugs.
You lot of mugs. Yeah.
The
mugs and hoodies are winning so far, but do let us know via the various ways you can get in touch. You know, if you want t-shirts or sweatshirts, that sort of thing. You know, when we have a sense of sufficient interest, we'll do it. So that was penultimately. Speaking of the wider branding of the FM show, we've had an email through to the fmshow@gmail.com from Ty Jordan. Now, Ty is a broadcaster DJ in Canada who has been enjoying very much our Canadian Premier League chat when we've had it occasionally and me butchering where cities are and that sort of thing. So hello, Ty. And Ty has sent over, guys, some bespoke audio imaging for the FM show because in his day job he's a radio host over in Canada. So we've got them lined up for you guys to hear as well, and we're going to decide what we do with them as and when we sort of go for next episode, etc. onwards. But let's just get it up now and let's have a quick listen. This is the one that Ty sent over for the intro. So here we go.
Talking all things Football Manager, it's the FM show with Tony, Aaron, and producer Steve.
Okay, cool. So the music carries on that bit like that, so we'll fade out there, that sort of thing. So that's the intro. It's nice having a sort of like a transatlantic accent, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's better than me trying to do it. That's for certain.
Away!
Hello, welcome to the Football Manager show. It's not even what was called anymore now, but it's easier for us to remember it.
That impersonation was hilarious.
That is cultural appropriation.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's not.
I'm very sorry to everyone in the northeast of England who I did that. That was terrible.
Oh man, just quickly as well, on my stream we've got this wheel thing that we randomly spin. We span that and I've got this thing. I do accents and then someone said I'll do a Wenger one, so now it's a thing that everyone asks for Wenger. And yeah, I'm hoping no French people tune in whilst I'm doing that French accent. It's all Hello. James, it's all content.
I think anyway, wow. So we have that lovely Canadian drawl there from Ty for the that sort of intro slash could be coming back into the show sting sort of thing. This next one is for well, let's have a listen, shall we? Then beat again.
Want to learn even more about Football Manager? Subscribe to the Patreon. Just visit patreon.com/thefmshowpod. Don't forget to rate and review and follow along on the socials at the FM Show Pod.
There you go. So again, it's sort of slightly, clearer out there. But
he's right. Definitely follow definitely follow all the social media channels.
And sub to that Patreon. Well, Ty, that's wonderful. Thank you very much for that little gift and saving me a job.
Absolutely. If you want to send us anything, really, to be honest,
wow,
our job's easier for us. Like what I've done, Tony, is I found a new presenter for your show.
I love some socks.
Yeah.
Socks, anyone?
we got boxes sent from Manscaped. Yeah,
we do.
Yeah, Christmas is coming. Yeah, get your orders in. But yes, of course feel free to send any correspondence to us via, of course, the social channels, which Ty has just plugged very nicely for us. Join the Patreon, patreon.com/the FM Show Pod, or of course drop us an email at thefmshowpod@gmail.com. That's thefmshowpod@gmail.com. Now, that was episode 22 of the FM Show, hosted by myself, Tony Jameson, co-hosted, of course, by the one and only Aaron Falloon, aka RDF Tactics, and our producer is the one and only producer Steve Hankey. Take care of yourselves, stay safe, everyone. We will see you next time.